Hey, hello guys, welcome to my channel, welcome to another video, welcome to another episode. And if you are not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. It will be helpful for you, especially if you are in poultry farming. It will be easy for you to learn poultry farming on this channel. And make sure you check other videos because they are very educative about poultry farming, about poultry management. For those who are already subscribers, it's been a while since I did an episode, and today I've just come up with a very important episode that you need to hook yourself in and make sure you listen carefully and make sure you have the information collectory head. So I just want to speak about two things, but the other one I want to speak much because it is just something that I will just speak maybe for just a small period of time. But even this one that I will speak about is just a small period of time, but I will need people to listen, those who are watching and those who are in poultry farming. I need you to listen very carefully. Probably maybe you've made a mistake before and you didn't realize what happened. So on this video I want to cover up, and what I want to cover up is about temperature regulation, and then the other thing that I want to talk about is about spacing. So first thing first, temperature regulation is very important in your poultry, especially when you're brooding your beds. You know that you need to brood your beds very carefully. And this video, the reason why I'm doing it is because we are going to have the cold season. I want to mention how you can keep up with the beds when it's cold season, how you can make sure you have a good quality weight of beds on time. That's the reason why I'm doing this video. You don't need to have to complain like your beds are not growing. If you have this information, you won't complain about your beds. They are not growing. The beds are not moving according to the time in cold season. This is for cold season section. So in cold season, I want to mention about the brooding temperatures that we need, the temperature regulations on the day 1 and day 2. Of course, we know day 1. Okay, I'll mention just for emphasis. From day or chicks in cold season, you need about 32 to 35 degrees temperature in the poultry room. And make sure you have your temperature in your poultry. You don't just guess temperature. You need to make sure you know how and exactly the temperature in your poultry. You need to know for your beds to be in a safe and conducive environment. You need to know how much temperature is in. You need to know exactly what temperature is in your room. So I've mentioned 32 to 35 degrees Celsius. So the main reason why I'm doing this video is because when the beds are 21 days old, you need about 22 degrees Celsius in the poultry room. Okay, but that doesn't really count if the beds are not really comfortable in that zone. During cold season, sometimes it gets colder, very cold, whereby you can tell like your beds are feeling cold. Your beds will be crowded together. Then there's a funny sound they give, like they are feeling cold. You can tell if you are a passionate poultry farmer, and if you don't know the language the beds can give you if they are feeling cold. Not the body temperature, because there's a body language that they have. There's also the sound they give. When the beds are comfortable, there's a way they sound in the poultry. And when the beds are feeling cold, there's a sound they give. And you find like they're trying to cuddle each other. Like my beds are feeling cold. And that's a danger zone. You don't need that. Because what usually happens when the temperature is low in the poultry, the beds, that feed that you're eating, they'll start using that feed, and then they'll start after they eat that feed, instead of generating that feed into meat, they'll start generating that feed into heat so that they can support their body. So you need to make sure the temperature in the poultry is good enough for the beds, so that when they eat that feed, they will be able to produce it into meat, so that you can have a good quality weight of chickens at the end of the day or at the end of the period of time that you are having. So make sure you have your beds, the temperature is good. So if they are feeling cold, you won't produce good results, because that feed will be used for heat instead of used to consume into meat. So I hope you understand there. So make sure you study your beds. Make sure you study them carefully, like how do beds look and how do they sound when they're feeling cold, so that you are sure exactly what you are doing. So for me, my beds is I don't know if you can see, I'm still blooding them, even though the temperature is just good. It's not really that cold, but if it gets colder, I need to make sure I give them another heat source. Sometimes it reaches to a point whereby your beds are already like 4 weeks. You find like your beds are feeling cold. That means they'll be wasting that feed to produce heat. So you need to make sure you look at your bed and see, oh, these beds are feeling very much comfortable in this poultry. Then if not, just add up some heat source in that poultry to make sure the beds are having a good quality environment and the temperature is comfortable for them to eat. Because if they are not, mostly in cold season, they don't eat most of the time because they are trying to warm themselves. Once they move, trying to go and eat, of course, that means they know, they sense it, like the cold will get to them, then they'll start feeling cold. So they intend to stay at one place. They'll just stay at one place because where they are seated, you know, there is that warmth that is being given to the beds. So if they're feeling cold, they'll just stay at one place. They won't eat. Then some will start getting weak because they are not eating. They are losing the energy. So make sure the temperature is okay. The beds, you can see like, oh, the beds are feeling very comfortable in the poultry. If they are not comfortable, give them another heat source to make sure there is a heat source. They are comfortable whereby they can be able to move. So that's it. Make sure the temperature is good. Then the other thing that I wanted to mention about, I'll still add up an addition on the temperature regulations, but the other thing is spacing. You need to make sure your beds are in a good spacing area. You have to make sure your beds are not crowded in the poultry. Make sure the beds are really according to the number and the measurement of the poultry you are having. In case you don't know how to calculate the measurement of how many beds per square meter is supposed to be, it's supposed to be 10 beds per square meter. So if you're doing your calculations, for example, maybe your poultry loom is 5 meters by 5 meters, you do 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 10. Then it will give you the number, and it will give you the total number of the beds that needs to be in that poultry loom, so that you don't overcrowd the beds. So that is important, because most of the time you find you can give your beds feed, you give them enough feed, but you find like the weight is not improving. That means you are overcrowding them, so that means they are not in a comfort zone. Beds, no matter how much feed, how good quality feed you can give them, if the spacing is not good enough, the beds don't really grow that much. There will be a slowness in growth. So make sure the spacing is okay. Make sure the beds are eating comfortably. Don't overcrowd them. Make sure they're comfortable. Another thing, of course, when we talk about spacing, we are also talking about the way the beds needs to be, like the poultry loom, the litter system needs to be, make sure it's dry, because in cold season mostly you find like, because there is no sunny which it can dry up the litter system which is there, it takes time for the litter system to dry up in cold season. You need to know that. So you need to add up like your litter system needs to be very thick. If you're using sawdust, make sure it's about 6 inch, so that they can turn around that sawdust or those shavings. You mix up sawdust or shavings, then they can turn them around, which means that litter can go down, then they can dry up, then up it will be dry. So that's how it is. Temperature regulation is important. Make sure, don't miss it. I hope I explained very well, to make sure everybody is able to understand, because my passion is to make sure all poultry farmers get the information, the correct information, to make sure they are really doing their poultry farming comfortably, because they've learned, they've got the knowledge on what goes on with their beds. So please make sure the environment, even if the beds are big, like I've mentioned, maybe they are 5 weeks but they're not yet to the weight that you need. If you see like it's very cold that day, make sure you supply a heat source for them, to make sure they're in a good environment. So my beds like I always have my beds in. I make sure I have my thermometer to make sure I measure the correct temperature for me to have good healthy beds. So let me just walk you around my poultry right now. I'll show you how my beds are looking and how my beds are performing. And today, because they are 18 days old, and I just vaccinated them with gumbulo, which is the third vaccine. So I'll just go around. I want you to take a look at how the growth of these beds is going. So stick around and see how the beds are doing. Thank you for watching. So those are my 18 days old beds, which are just performing very well. As you saw the way the beds are looking, they look fantastic. And thank you for watching, and please consider subscribing to my channel to make so that you are always notified with these good lessons about poultry farming, so that you are able to learn and able to have collect information, so that when you're doing a poultry business, you are able to know like, oh, exactly what you're going to do. You're able to take action very well, because there are other videos there that you can watch, and you're going to learn a lot on this channel. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.